While I worked 3 jobs to pay for college, my parents spent $50,000 on my sister's self-discovery trip around the world. But when she came home to show off her photos, I had something even bigger to reveal. And she went pale. While I was working 3 jobs to pay for college, my parents blew $50,000 on Emma's self-discovery tour around the world. When she got home and started showing off her photos on our parents' massive living room TV, I had something even bigger to reveal. As she flipped through her Instagram, and here I'm doing a handstand on the Great Wall of China. Emma's smile faltered and her face went pale. I sat quietly in the corner, fingers tightening around my coffee mug. As her slideshow played for 3 long hours, there she was gallivanting across the globe, while our parents cooed and gasped at every image. "Oh, look at that sunset in Bali," Mom gushed. "You've really found yourself, sweetheart." Found yourself, I thought bitterly. It was more like she hit every tourist trap and luxury resort from Tokyo to Paris, all on our parents' dime. Meanwhile, I'd spent the past year juggling 3 jobs, barista by morning, tutor by afternoon, and night shifts at the hospital lab, all to pay for my biochemistry degree. My name is Olivia Chin, and at 23, I was forced to watch my 21-year-old sister bask in the glow of her extravagant tour while I stared at my checking account balance. Exactly $46.74. Then Emma clicked to the next photo. This is when I decided to be a lifestyle influencer. I already have 10,000 followers, and brands are starting to notice me. Dad beamed with pride. "That's wonderful, princess. Much better than being stuck in a stuffy lab all day." His pointed look didn't escape me, and I noticed how Mom quickly changed the subject whenever I tried to speak up. They made their feelings crystal clear when they rejected my request for help with tuition last year. "We're not made of money, Olivia." 2 weeks later, they even splurged on a first-class ticket to Japan for Emma. As if riding that wave, Emma casually tossed her perfectly styled hair over her shoulder. "I'm thinking of converting the guest house into a content creation studio for my brand. You know, the same guest house I've been dying to move into to save on rent, while I finish my degree." I couldn't help but laugh. A sharp laugh that drew everyone's attention. "Something funny?" Emma asked, sculpted eyebrows raised. No, I said, standing up abruptly. "I was just thinking about how strange the timing is. Excuse me, I need to make a call." I stepped out onto the back porch and pulled my phone from my pocket. The screen lit up with the notification I'd been waiting for all evening. My hands trembled as I opened the email. "Dear Miss Chan, we are pleased to inform you that your research paper, Novel Approaches to Enzoic Catalysis in Pharmaceutical Development, has been accepted for publication in the Journal of Biochemical Innovation. Furthermore, based on your groundbreaking findings, Horizon Pharmaceuticals would like to offer you." Before I could fully savor the moment, Mom's voice cut through. "Don't be rude, Olivia. Come back inside. Emma isn't finished with her presentation." I took a deep breath, slipped my phone back into my pocket, and returned to the living room. Emma had already moved on to photos from the south of France. "Look at this vineyard," she exclaimed. "The owner said I have such a sophisticated palate that he even offered me a job as their social media manager." "That's because you have natural talent, sweetie," Mom cooed. "Not everyone has to study for years to be successful." I sank back into my chair, letting their words wash over me. They had no idea what I had been building while Emma was busy posting sunset photos and cafe reviews. They knew nothing about the nights I spent in the lab, the breakthrough I'd made, or the paper I'd written between shifts at the coffee shop. Then Emma clapped her hands together. "Oh, I almost forgot the best part. Remember that cute little lab in the guest house, Olivia? The one you used to play scientist in? I'm thinking of turning it into my photography studio." Dad had already said I could use that lab, the very lab where I'd made my discovery, working with equipment I'd scrounged and saved for. It was about to become just another backdrop for Emma's selfies. "Actually," I said, my voice steady despite the anger bubbling beneath the surface, "I have some photos to share too." Emma rolled her eyes. "Let me guess, more pictures of test tubes and petri dishes? How boring." I connected my laptop to the TV. The first slide appeared. A complex molecular diagram that made Emma's eyes glaze over. But it wasn't meant for her. It was for Dad, the former chemistry teacher who'd given up his passion for a corporate job. I watched as his posture straightened and his eyes narrowed in recognition. "This," I said, clicking to the next slide, "is what I've been working on while juggling 3 jobs to pay for my education you wouldn't help with." The next slide showed the results of my experiments. Clear, irrefutable evidence of a new enzymatic process that could revolutionize drug manufacturing. Dad leaned forward, mouth slightly open, as if in disbelief. "And this," I continued, moving to the final slide, "is the offer I just received from Horizon Pharmaceuticals. They want to patent my discovery and bring me on as their lead researcher, with a starting salary of $150,000 plus royalties on any drugs developed using my process." The room fell into a deafening silence. Emma's perfect smile faltered. Mom's wine glass rose halfway to her lips, and Dad just stared at the screen, his chemist's mind processing every detail. Finally, Emma sputtered, "But that's not fair. I mean, I'm supposed to be the successful one, the one everyone's proud of, the one who gets everything handed to her, while I work myself to exhaustion. Olivia, Mom started, but I held up my hand. No, let me finish. While you were spending $50,000 on your Finding Yourself tour, I was discovering something too. I discovered that I don't need your approval, I don't need your money, and I certainly don't need to sit here pretending that what you did is okay. I stood up and gathered my things. Emma, about the guest house, you might want to hold off on those renovation plans. The contract I'm signing includes a clause about maintaining a private research space. It turns out that little lab you want to turn into your selfie studio is exactly where I make my discoveries. The discoveries that will fund my own world tour someday. Wait just a minute, Dad began, his authoritative tone returning as he tried to regain control. You can't just make decisions about the guest house, it's our property. I pulled out my phone and showed him the email from 6 months ago, the one where he officially signed over the guest house to me when he thought I was just playing scientist. Actually, it's my property. You made that very clear when you said, at least let her have her little hobby space since we can't help with tuition. Remember that, Dad. The color drained from his face as the memory hit him. Emma looked between us, her perfectly curated world starting to crack. But what about my content creation studio? She whined. My followers are expecting it. Your followers can find another backdrop, I replied, picking up my bag. I've got a patent to file and a career to build. Oh, and Mom, Dad, you might want to start saving the money you spend on Emma, because something tells me her influencer career isn't going to pay for her retirement. That evening, I walked out of the house feeling lighter than I had in years. Behind me, I could hear Emma's protests, Mom's attempts to smooth things over, and Dad's heavy silence. For the first time, their drama didn't weigh me down. My phone buzzed again with another email from Horizon Pharmaceuticals, this one with the formal contract attached. I smiled, remembering that moment in the guest house lab when I first realized what I had discovered. I'd been alone that night, running one last test after my shift at the coffee shop. No one was there to see my trembling hands or share the moment when it all clicked, but that was okay. Some victories are sweeter when you earn them on your own. The next morning, I woke up to 15 missed calls from my family and a single text from Emma. This isn't fair. You're ruining everything. I texted back a single photo, me in my lab coat holding up the official acceptance letter from the journal with the caption, actually, I'm just getting started. Then I turned off my phone, got dressed, and headed to the guest house. I had experiments to run, papers to sign, and a future to build. Let Emma have her Instagram followers. I had something better to prove. That hard work, determination, and resilience can outshine any unfair advantage. Unlocking the guest house door, I caught a glimpse of Emma watching from the main house window. For the first time, her perfect facade was cracking. She was really seeing me, not as her shadow or the responsible older sister who always stepped aside, but as someone who had quietly built something remarkable while she was busy snapping selfies in Paris. I had a feeling our family dinners were about to get a lot more interesting. I walked into my lab and ran my hand along the counter where I'd made my breakthrough. The equipment might be secondhand and the space small, but it was mine. Every beaker, every notebook, every late-night discovery. I earned them all. The morning sun streamed through the windows, casting prisms of light across the walls. Somewhere in the main house, Emma was likely plotting her next move, Mom fretting over family harmony, and Dad finally facing the consequences of his choices. But here in my lab, none of that mattered. I had work to do, and for the first time in my life, I didn't need anyone's approval. I pulled on my lab coat, opened my notebook, and smiled. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about rising so high above those who doubted you that they can't help but wonder what they missed. And now it's time to get to work. The next week would be all about pushing further into my dreams. Emma kicked off what she probably believed was a clever social media campaign against me. She posted throwback photos of us as kids with captions like, "Some people forget where they came from, and family should support each other's dreams." I almost admired her dedication to the victim narrative. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing with messages from relatives who had seen her posts. At first, most of them took her side. After all, they'd been mesmerized by her carefully curated Instagram stories about finding herself, while I was quietly working in my lab. To them, I was just the jealous older sister trying to steal Emma's spotlight. That all changed when a local paper ran a story titled "Local Scientist Makes Breakthrough in Drug Development." The article detailed my discovery, explaining how I worked 3 jobs to pay for my education and research. The reporter even quoted my old chemistry professor, praising my extraordinary dedication and brilliant mind. Emma's next Instagram post was less confident. She complained, "Some people will do anything for attention." I was in my lab reviewing the final contract details with Horizon Pharmaceuticals' legal team when Mom showed up unexpectedly. "Olivia," she said, hovering in the doorway, "we need to talk about this situation." I didn't look up. "Which situation? The one where you funded Emma's world tour while I worked 3 jobs? Or the one where she's trying to paint me as the villain because I succeeded without your help?" I interrupted. "Don't be dramatic," she sighed. "We would have helped if we could." "Help you could have if you'd chosen to," I replied, finally meeting her eyes. Your father and I have been talking. We think maybe we can work something out to help with your research now that you're serious about it. I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. Now that it's successful? You mean now that there's money and recognition? That's not fair. No, she agreed. Standing up, I continued. What isn't fair is watching my sister post about 5-star hotels while I'm making coffee at 5 a.m. to buy lab supplies. What isn't fair is hearing you call her brave for following her dreams while dismissing my work as just a hobby. I gestured to my lab equipment. Every experiment, every late night, I did it on my own. I don't need your help now. Before Mom could respond, my phone buzzed. The Horizon Pharmaceuticals logo flashed on the screen. I have a meeting to take, I said. You can see yourself out. She lingered for a moment, maybe hoping I'd soften so we could repair what was broken. But when I didn't, she turned and left, her expensive heels clicking on the floor. The meeting with Horizon was brief but important. They wanted to fast-track my patent process and get me started as soon as possible. After I hung up, I got a text from Dad. Your mother's upset. We should discuss this as a family. I typed back, nothing to discuss. Contract signing tomorrow at 10 a.m. That evening, Emma unleashed another salvo on social media. A heavily filtered video of her crying about toxic family dynamics and how success shouldn't come at the expense of compassion. Her followers flooded the comments with support, calling her brave for speaking out. I wondered how they'd react if they knew she tried to turn my research lab into a selfie studio. Later that night, as I was locking up the lab, I found Dad waiting outside. He looked older and more worn than I remembered. You're making a mistake, he said bluntly. This company is just using your research to boost their image. Just like you helped Emma spend $50,000 on a glorified vacation. He flinched. That was different. She needed to find her path and I supported that. Or did you think your path wasn't worth investing in? He started, then stopped, running a hand through his graying hair. You were always so independent, so capable. We never thought you needed help. I cut him off. You never thought about me at all. That's the problem. I tried to walk past him, but he caught my arm. Olivia, please let us help. We can be a family again. I removed his hand. We are a family, Dad. That's what makes this worse. You had every chance to support me, to believe in me, to treat my work with the same care you gave Emma. You chose not to, and now you have to live with that choice. Driving home, my phone lit up with notifications. Emma had posted again, this time sharing childhood photos of us with the caption, missing when my sister cared more about family than fame. Success changes people. Despite everything, I smiled. She still didn't get it. This wasn't about fame, success, or money. It was about finally being seen, proving that all those nights I spent working while she traveled the world weren't wasted. The next morning, at the small but significant contract signing ceremony, I signed my name on the final page, making my partnership with Horizon official. I thought about Emma's Instagram posts, Mom's belated offer of help, and Dad's attempt to reassert control. They had spent years underestimating me, dismissing my work as less valuable than Emma's pursuit of social media fame. Now they had to watch from the sidelines as I built something real and lasting. The head of research at Horizon shook my hand and said warmly, "Welcome to the team, Dr. Chan. We're expecting great things from you." I smiled, feeling the weight of the moment. Thank you. I'm ready to get started. As I walked out of the building, now officially a lead researcher with a groundbreaking patent to my name, I saw a new message from Emma. This isn't over. Family means more than any contract. I typed back, you're right. Family means more. That's why it hurts so much when ours shows you. Then I turned off my phone, got in my car and headed back to the lab. I had experiments to run and a future to build. For once, I didn't need anyone's approval. My future was mine to create, one experiment at a time. 3 months into my position at Horizon Pharmaceuticals, I barely recognized my old life. My research was progressing faster than anyone expected, and my team was brilliant and dedicated. For the first time, I was doing exactly what I wanted, without worrying about anyone's approval. Then news came that Emma's influencer career was imploding. I heard it from my aunt. Apparently, some of Emma's followers had started questioning the authenticity of her self-made success story. Someone had dug up the truth about our parents funding her world tour, and suddenly her carefully crafted image of a struggling artist was falling apart. Her dramatic video titled "The Truth About Toxic Family and the Price of Success" showed tears streaming down her cheeks as she ranted. My sister's jealousy has turned my own followers against me. I watched the video during my lunch break, feeling a mix of pity and vindication. Emma had spent so long living in a bubble of privilege that she couldn't even see her own role in it all. Later, my lab assistant knocked on my door. "Olivia, your father's here." I looked up in surprise. Dad hadn't contacted me since the contract signing. He entered the sleek, modern lobby of Horizon's research facility, looking uncomfortable in his old teacher's blazer and worn briefcase, clearly out of place among the glass and chrome. "Your sister's devastated," he said, without preamble. "She's lost 3 sponsorship deals this week." I kept my voice neutral. "That concerns me. How does she think you're behind it, trying to ruin her career?" "I haven't done anything to her career," I replied, turning back to my work. Her followers simply learned the truth. Isn't that what influencers are supposed to be about? Authenticity. Dad shifted uncomfortably. She's talking about moving back home. Your mother is worried about her mental health. Just like you were worried about mine when I was working 3 jobs to pay for school. A heavy silence fell. We made mistakes, he finally said. But you've always been the stronger one. I looked up at him, really looked at him. That's not a compliment, Dad. Being strong shouldn't mean being ignored. Being independent shouldn't mean being abandoned. I know, he said quietly. I know that now. Before I could respond further, my phone buzzed with an urgent message from the lab. We just had a breakthrough with one of our major experiments. I have to go, I said, standing up. The team needs me. Dad nodded, looking suddenly old and tired. You've built something remarkable here, Olivia. I just wish wishes don't change the past. I know, I said softly. But my actions will. That afternoon, our breakthrough made headlines. Horizon Pharmaceuticals announces major development in drug production. My name was featured prominently along with details of my research. Emma's response came as a lengthy Instagram post. While some people chase fame through science, others stayed true to authenticity. Proud to announce I'm starting a wellness coaching business, she declared. I couldn't help but admire her persistence, even if it was misplaced. That evening, while reviewing the day's lab results, Mom appeared at my office. She looked different, less polished, more genuine. Your father told me about your conversation, she said, hovering in the doorway, and I saw the news about your breakthrough. I've been thinking about what you said about choices and consequences. She paused. We're selling the beach house. My attention snapped to her. The beach house had been their retirement dream, and the reason they claimed they couldn't help with my tuition. Emma needs a fresh start, Mom continued. But this time we're not just giving her money. She needs to learn what you learned. That success comes from hard work, not handouts. I set my papers down. Why are you telling me this? Because you were right about everything, she said hesitantly, then pushed on. And because I'm proud of you, not just for your success but for how you achieved it. For being strong enough to stand alone when we failed to stand with you. Those were the words I'd longed to hear. They should have felt triumphant, but instead they were complicated and real. It's not about being strong enough to stand alone, I said finally. It's about standing up for yourself even when the people who should support you don't. Mom nodded, tears welling in her eyes. I know that now. As she turned to leave, she paused. Emma's starting a wellness coaching business. She wants to help people find their true path. I couldn't help but smile at the irony. Maybe she'll finally find herself, just not in the way she expected. That night, as I locked up the lab, I thought about choices, strength, and authenticity. Emma's world tour didn't help her find herself. Maybe losing everything she once took for granted will. And deep down, I knew that the truth of my hard work would shine brighter than any facade. Maybe my parents' late recognition of their mistakes wouldn't erase the past, but it could shape a better future. My phone buzzed with a message from Horizon's board of directors. They wanted me to present our latest findings at an international conference in Paris next month. I couldn't help but smile at the irony, thinking of Emma's carefully staged photos in front of the Eiffel Tower. My trip would be different. No luxury hotels, no carefully filtered selfies. Just honest work, real achievement, and a genuine sense of earning my place in the world. Sometimes the longest journeys aren't measured in miles, but in the truths you learn along the way. 1 year later, I stood at a podium in Paris presenting my research to a packed conference hall. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was staying at the very hotel Emma had once flaunted on her self-discovery tour. While her photos had been all about showcasing a glamorous lifestyle, I was here building a legacy. As I finished my presentation to enthusiastic applause, my phone buzzed with a notification. Emma had posted for the first time in months. Her caption read, "Proud to announce I've completed my first semester at community college. Sometimes the hardest journey is learning who you really are. #authentic-living." I smiled, recalling our conversation 3 months earlier when she showed up at my lab, not exactly to apologize but to really talk for the first time. Sitting awkwardly on a lab stool, she admitted, "I never noticed how hard you worked, how much you sacrificed. I was so busy trying to be special that I didn't see you were extraordinary." I replied gently, "We all have different paths, you just had to find yours the hard way." I was in the middle of carefully measuring compounds for my experiment when she added, "I even enrolled in a few classes, basic chemistry, biology. I wanted to understand what you do, what you've built." It wasn't an outright apology, but it was a start, a sign of growth. After my presentation, I checked my messages. Mom had sent a photo of Emma studying at our kitchen table, textbooks spread out, with a note saying, "She's really trying." Dad's message was simpler. "You would have made your mother proud. I'm sorry I didn't say that sooner." I stepped out onto my hotel balcony and gazed over the Paris skyline. Hidden in my suitcase was Emma's old travel journal, the one she'd dropped off at my lab last week. "I thought you might want to see the difference," she had said, comparing then to now. The journal was filled with her old posts. Carefully staged photos, exaggerated captions about finding herself, and lavish descriptions of hotels and gourmet meals. But in the margins she'd scribbled honest notes. One entry read, "I didn't realize extraordinary takes work." Next to a photo of her pretending to study at a cafe, she wrote, "Olivia was really studying, while I was busy pretending to have a future." My phone buzzed again. A video call from the family. I answered to find them gathered around our kitchen table, with Emma's textbook still visible in the background. "How was the presentation?" Dad asked. "Good," I said. "The new research is getting a lot of attention." We watched a live stream clip, and then Emma spoke softly. I actually understood part of it this time, the section on enzyme catalysis. In that moment I felt a shift, not exactly forgiveness but recognition of effort, change, and growth. My next experiment involves some basic concepts. You're probably covering them in your chemistry class. If you want, I could walk you through it when I get back, I offered. Emma's face brightened with genuine curiosity, a far cry from the rehearsed enthusiasm of her influencer days. "I'd like that," she said. Mom wiped away tears while Dad pretended to be deeply interested in his coffee. Some things hadn't changed, we were still awkward with real emotions, still learning how to be honest with each other. But so much had shifted. The beach house had been sold, which now funded Emma's community college tuition instead of another extravagant world tour. My parents had downsized to a smaller house that didn't demand constant appearances, and my research had expanded, leading to breakthroughs that would help people long after Emma's Instagram fame faded. "I should go," I said. "I've got an early meeting tomorrow." "Of course," Mom nodded, adding, "Olivia, we're proud of you, not just for what you've achieved but for who you are." "I know," I murmured softly. After ending the call, I looked out at the Paris lights again. Emma had come here searching for herself in luxury hotels and perfectly filtered photos, while I found myself in late nights at the lab, early mornings making coffee, and endless hours of focused work. We both ended up where we needed to be, just by very different paths. Then my phone buzzed one last time. A private message from Emma. "Aced my chemistry quiz today. Turns out I'm not as bad at science as I thought. Maybe it runs in the family." I quickly typed back, "Maybe it's not about what runs in the family, but about what you're willing to work for." Her reply came swiftly. "Unlearning that, finally." I smiled, put my phone away, and pulled out my research notes. Tomorrow would bring new experiments, challenges, and opportunities to build something meaningful. For now, standing in the same city where Emma once posed for superficial photos, I felt the full circle of our journey. Sometimes you have to let people find their own way, even if they have to get lost first. And sometimes, getting lost is the only way to truly find yourself. I had an early meeting to prepare for more groundbreaking research, and a family slowly learning the value of authentic achievement. It wasn't perfect, but it was real, and real I learned was better than perfect any day.